Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Artist's Way with me, Veronica, aka Vespertilio. I am an Italian comic book author, tarot and oracle deck creator, and your spooky art teacher.
It's me again, yours truly.
So, welcome back. I decided to write my check-in on my notebook first. Towards the end of this video, I'm going to share my check-in with you and reflect on some parts of it because there were a lot of things that could be analyzed about this second week. By the way, if you don't have any idea of what I'm talking about, please make sure to check this video first because this is episode 2 of 12 of this new series about The Artist's Way, this wonderful book by Julia Cameron, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. With that said, before we start, there were a couple of you who wrote in the comments that you were scared to embark on this journey because you felt you might become scared of the emotional turmoil. You expressed a fear of spiraling maybe into a series of unpleasant feelings that in this moment maybe you don't want to face. Also, some of you expressed their reluctance about the required commitment to certain tasks of this book, such as the daily morning pages and the weekly artist dates, etc. This is going to be kind of discussed in this second chapter. You don't have to do this perfectly. You're not required to do this perfectly. You're required to take yourself seriously, your creative recovery seriously. Yes, you have to face certain unpleasant emotions. You have to go through some emotional turmoil, but that will also include a certain amount of positive, empowering, nurturing emotions and feelings. You'll be required to do your inner work, explore past traumas that maybe are now affecting your creative life, the possibility of your creative life. And at the same time, you'll be called to committing to having fun and nurturing your artist child and really give yourself permission to be an artist and not just a shadow artist, as we discussed in the previous episode. Now, with that said, let's start. So this second chapter, week 2 of The Artist's Way, is called Recovering a Sense of Identity. This week addresses self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries and staking out new territories as your personal needs, desires, and interests announce themselves. The essays and tools are aimed at moving you into your personal identity, a self-defined you. If you did have doubts after the first week, it is perfectly normal because in week 1 we met the shadow artist and the artist child. We understood that we are already artists, we just don't know how to live that creative life to the fullest. We are blocked. Our creative life is blocked. So it is perfectly normal to have an identity crisis because we're now facing this possibility of a hidden identity within ourselves, an identity that maybe we've been dreaming of. But the funny thing about dreams, and the author actually touches on this in this chapter, is that many times we love to fantasize about those new identities, these big dreams. And maybe we're the kind of person that says things like, oh, if I had that chance, I would take it. Oh, if I had that amount of money, I would do so and so. But in reality, we're stuck in our comfort zone. And the second that a door opens towards the outside of that comfort zone, we get scared. No, that's too fast. No, that's too much. We don't know what's behind the door. We know it might be what we wish for, but that would require us stepping outside of that comfort zone. So right now, a door has been opened for us. We were stuck inside this cage, and now someone's telling you, there's a way out. We were stuck with this desire to be creative and this dream of being artists. And now someone is telling us, you are an artist. You just have to bring that aspect of your identity to the light. And so it is perfectly normal to be scared and to kind of have this identity crisis, okay? Trusting our creativity is new behavior for many of us. It may feel quite threatening initially, not only to us, but also to our intimates. So the author in this first part of this second chapter starts talking about the people around us. because of course we are now embarking this path alone. I know we're sharing this path, but it is a virtual collaboration, okay? It is really important to embark this journey on our own. It has to be us and our artist child. So at first, the problem will come from ourselves. Erraticism is a normal part of getting unstuck. It is important to remember that at first flash, going insane feels just like going crazy. We're now seeing this open door inside of this cage that felt like home for many, many years. As we gain strength, so will some of the attacks of self-doubt. This is normal, and we can deal with these stronger attacks when we see them as symptoms of recovery. Okay, so I did okay this week, but it's just temporary thing. Okay, so I got the morning pages done. I probably did them wrong. Who am I kidding? I'll never recover, not right away, not ever. These attacks are groundless but very convincing to ourselves. Buying into them enables us to remain stuck and victimized. We're not going to be able to do this perfectly. If we were required to do this perfectly, the weekly check-in would not exist. The weekly check-in is there to make us confront difficulties, because there's going to be difficulties, and the author takes that into account. And the importance of the weekly check-in is giving us a time and space to reflect on what we were able and what we were willing to do this past week, basically. And we're going to miss our morning pages, and we're going to do artist dates that don't feel fun at all, or we're going to forget about our artist dates, or we're going to forget about our tests. But the important thing is keep showing up to the page. The key is not letting that doubtful voice, our censor voice, we talked about our censor in last week's episode, we don't have to let them win. These attacks will come from within us, but they also might come from outside. Affirmations are a powerful antidote for self-hate, which commonly appears under the mask of self-doubt. Early in our creative recovery, self-doubt can lure us into self-sabotage. A common form of this sabotage is showing someone our morning pages. Remember, the morning pages are private and are not intended for the scrutiny of well-meaning friends. One newly unblocked writer showed these morning pages to a writer friend who was still blocked. When she critiqued them, he blocked again. Do not let your self-doubt turn into self-sabotage. One of the main rules of the morning pages and of the artist dates is that they don't have to be shared with anyone. If someone is truly your friend, they will not demand to see your morning pages. If you say no, they will respect that no. If you tell them, these are not supposed to be shown to anybody, not even you, that you're my best friend, and they take that personally, it's either that they're not truly your friends, or that they are as well blocked artists, and so they don't understand what you're doing. They don't understand this new you, this new identity that is venturing outside of your common comfort zones. Do not expect your blocked friends to applaud your recovery. That's like expecting your best friend from the bar to celebrate your sobriety. Speaking about my past experience in particular, 99% of the time, these need to be 100% open with someone would always be towards someone that was always making me feel uncomfortable and not safe. I was constantly trying to get the approval of those people because I needed to be approved by those people, or I wouldn't feel safe around them. I would feel like they could, I don't know, get mad at me or snap at me for any reason. So I needed to be always nice, always super open, always super truthful, or else I wouldn't be deserving of safety around them, basically. Wow, yeah, that's how I used to feel. So you might feel like if something happens to you, even if it's a good thing, you need to tell someone, because if you don't, they might not take it the good way. they're not entitled of everything in your life. And if they tell you, or they just make you feel like you owe them every single aspect of your life, reconsider that relationship, please. Because every healthy, true relationship in my life has always been built on respect of each other's privacy and individuality. Creativity flourishes when we have a sense of safety and self-acceptance. Your artist, like a small child, is happiest when feeling a sense of security. As our artist's protective parent, we must learn to place our artist with safe companions. Blocked friends may find your recovery disturbing. Be alert to subtle sabotage from friends. You cannot afford their well-meaning doubts right now. Their doubts will reactivate your own. Be particularly alert to any suggestion that you have become selfish or different. You're not becoming selfish, you're becoming self-aware and self-nurturing and self-loving. You have not become different, you're discovering your true identity. These are red alert words for us. These are attempts to leverage us back into our old ways for the sake of someone else's comfort, not your own. Many times you'll feel safe only in consequence of someone else's comfort. And speaking of, blocked creatives are easily manipulated by guilt. We tend to think such behavior makes us good people. It doesn't. It makes us frustrated people. Draw a sacred circle around your recovery. Give yourself the gift of faith. Trust that you are on the right track. You are. But again, inside of this sacred circle, you'll still have your censor. You'll still have that inner doubtful voice that will try to sabotage you. It is perfectly normal. We just need to go past that. You will discover the joy of practicing your creativity. The process, not the product, will become your focus. Try get your hands on physical copies of this book. Many people don't resonate with this book, so you'll be able to find them also in thrift stores and buy them secondhand. Also, someone in one of my previous videos shared how to get access to a digital version of this book. The comment is pinned to the top. Now, about crazy makers. Crazy makers are the kind of people that makes us feel guilty and that can easily manipulate us. The author calls them very charming and charismatic, but they're also out of control, long on problems and short on solutions. Crazy makers like drama. If they can swing it, they are the star. They acquire that status by feeding on the life energies of those around them. And one particular thing the author describes, in which I really see myself every single time, is that this kind of people will not respect your boundaries and they will violate your time. If you say, next Wednesday, I'm going to take the whole morning to work on my comic book, you can be sure that this person will find the way to need you at that specific moment on that specific day. And this can happen also in other ways. The author gives some examples here. I know you're on a deadline, but this will only take a minute. Yes, your minute. Crazy makers create dreams, but seldom where they belong. Crazy makers are often blocked creatives themselves. Afraid to effectively tap their own creativity, they are loath to allow that some creativity in others. It makes them jealous, it makes them threatened, it makes them dramatic at your expense. Crazy makers discount your reality. Crazy makers spend your time and money. Crazy makers triangulate those they deal with. They set people against one another in order to maintain their own power position that center. Crazy makers are expert blamers. Crazy makers hate schedules except their own. Crazy makers hate order. Chaos serves their purposes. Crazy makers deny that they are crazy makers. They go for the jugular. I am not what's making you crazy. And the harsh truth is that you probably were a crazy maker at some point in your life. I've been a crazy maker, and that is mainly because I was a frustrated person. Because people who thrive at the expenses of the life energy of other people, people who thrive on the discomfort of other people, are unhappy people, are frustrated people. And again, the problem may come from outside of us and from within us as well. So we might be able to cut outside of our sacred circle of the creative recovery all of the external crazy makers, but we'll still have to acknowledge and deal with ourselves. This next paragraph is about skepticism. So earlier in this chapter, the author talks about self-doubt. And one thing she says is that we have to avoid our first thought. Just like someone who's recovering from alcoholism has to avoid that first drink. In this first phase of this creative recovery, we'll be dealing with our skepticism. So we want to do our morning pages, but our first thought is, oh, you'll never be consistent with morning pages. It just can't happen. It's too much commitment. That is your first thought. Recognize that is the voice of your inner censor and try really hard, because it's going to be hard, to give that voice a different tone than your own voice. And then in your own voice, first acknowledge what you just heard. So I am resisting the desire to do my morning pages because I am afraid I won't be able to commit into doing them every single day. Give yourself the solution. I can do my morning pages because I'm not required to do them perfectly. I am just required to show to the page. I don't have to commit to writing a bestseller. I just need to write 3 pages every day. I can write, I don't know what to write, again and again, and that will be my morning pages. So we really have to fight our skepticism in this phase. It is not easy, but it is doable. You got this. Again, this is a spiritual path. And even though we're doing this on our own, the author encourages us to give that inner, wiser voice to an external creative force. And that external creative source, as we discussed in previous videos or even in the comment section of this series, doesn't have to be God or the goddess or the universe. It can be an inner creative energy, creative source that instead of being external is just separated from your mundane voice, let's say. And the author encourages us to have faith and to trust that kinder, encouraging voice. Okay, so I started writing the morning pages and I seem more awake and alert in my life. So what? It's just a coincidence. Okay, so I have started feeling the well and taking my artist on a date, and I do notice I am cheering up a little. So what? It's just coincidental. Okay, so now I am beginning to notice that the more I let myself explore the possibility of there being some power for good, the more I notice lucky coincidence turning up in my life. So what? I can't believe I am really being led. It's just too weird. The reason we think it's weird to imagine an unseen helping hand is that we still doubt that it is okay for us to be creative. We not only look all gift horses in the mouth, but also get them out of our lives as fast as possible. One of the things most worth noting in a creative recovery is our reluctance to take seriously the possibility that the universe just might be cooperating with our new and expanded plans. We've gotten brave enough to try recovery, but we don't want the universe to really pay attention. This is what I was talking about earlier. We still feel too much like frauds to handle some success. When a little experiment provokes the universe to open a door or two, we start shying away. Hey, you, whatever you are, not so fast. The next paragraph is about attention. Very often, a creative block manifests itself as an addiction to fantasy. Rather than working or living the now, we spin our wheels and indulge in daydreams of could have, would have, should have. The truth is that a creative life involves great swaths of attention. Attention is a way to connect and survive. The quality of life is in proportion always to the capacity for delight. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention. The reward for attention is always healing. The author talks about this in an example. The night my mother died, I got the call. took my sweater and set out up the hill behind my house. A great snowy moon was rising behind the palm trees. Later that night, it floated above the garden, washing the cactus silver. When I think now about my mother's death, I remember that snowy moon. Pain had become something more valuable, experience. The precise moment I was in was always the only safe place for me. Each moment, taken alone, was always bearable. Just at the moment, just now, that's all right. I'm breathing in and out. Realizing this, I began to notice that each moment was not without its beauty. Before moving to the weekly tests, the author shares some rules of the road. This again to emphasize the fact that it is perfectly normal to start struggling after the first week, and so the author gives us more guidelines. In order to be an artist, I must 1. Show up at the page, use the page to rest, to dream, to try. 2. Fill the well by caring for my artist. 3. Set small and gentle goals and meet them. 4. Pray for guidance, courage, and humility. 5. Remember that it is far harder and more painful to be a blocked artist than it is to do the work. 6. Be alert always for the presence of the great creator leading and helping my artist. 7. Choose companions who encourage me to do the work, not just talk about doing the work or why I am doing the work. 8. Remember that the great creator loves creativity. 9. Remember that it is my job to do the work, not judge the work. 10. Place this sign in my workplace. Great creator, I will take care of the quantity. You take care of the quality. This is one of my favorite affirmations, mantras I've had since the first time I did the artist's way. I swear it works. Every time I am overwhelmed by the amount of tasks I have to do, every single time, if I start thinking about this, great creator, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. I remove the stress of doing things perfectly from the narrative, and I am able to entirely focus on just doing the damn thing. This was like the best advice I've ever received. In my case, it is, okay, goddess, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. But in your case, it could be, okay, creative self, I'll take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. Even though you choose something not as divine or supernatural or woohoo, call it as you wish, as your creative source, even if you choose yourself as your creative source, please try to separate that higher side of yourself from your mundane self. That way you really be able to give them the wheel and focus on doing the thing without worrying about the outcome, basically, because you'll give them the responsibility of the outcome. You'll give them the responsibility of the quality. Of course, the quality is going to be a consequence of what you did. Of course, but the fact that you give the will to this higher power lifts from our minds the weight of perfectionism. Try to think about it this way. Try to think about it as a way to remove from your mind the weight of perfectionism and let you do the work. And we're finally to the tasks of this week. So these were the tasks. Affirmative reading every day, morning and night. Get quiet and focused and read the basic principles to yourself. Be alert for any attitudinal shifts. Can you see yourself setting aside any skepticism yet? I completely forgot about this task. And so instead of getting to read the basic principles basically 14 times this week, I read them maybe 4 times, 6 times, I guess. In my second run with the artist's way, I had recorded myself reading the basic principles, and I remember I had set an alarm to remind myself of reading the basic principles, or in my case, listening to them. I would listen to myself reading the basic principles every morning and every evening. So linked in the description, you'll find a video of me reading the Artist's Way basic principles. Now, on the fifth point, I have substituted the word God with creative energy and creative source so that everyone can be comfortable in listening to them. And so if you feel like you might prefer listening to the basic principles instead of reading them by yourself, consider recording them with your own voice and listening to them with your own voice. I actually recommend you do that because I think they become more personal that way. But if instead you prefer a stranger's voice, feel free to get to the link in my description and listen to the basic principles read by me. It is ironic that I recorded them and then I forgot to listen to them. Task number 2. Where does your time go? List your 5 major activities this week. How much time did you give to each one? Which were what you wanted to do and which were shoulds? How much of your time is spent helping others and ignoring your own desires? Have any of your blocked friends triggered doubts in you? This task is divided into 2 tasks, basically. This first one, I created this table view on Notion and I would check each box for how many hours I dedicated to my 5 main activities each and every day. I'm sorry, my cat just destroyed everything, but fine. Another effective way of doing this is writing on a sheet of paper your 5 main activities, and for every hour you spend on that activity, just mark a little dot, and at the end of the day see how many dots were collected on each row, basically. Again, I didn't do this every single day. I did this 5 days out of 7. I didn't do this perfectly either. The second part of this task was take a sheet of paper, draw a circle. Inside that circle, place topics you need to protect. Place the names of those you find to be supportive. Outside the circle, place the names of those you must be self-protective around just now. Place this safety map near where you write your morning pages. Use this map to support your autonomy. Add names to the inner and outer spheres as appropriate. So I've never liked to leave the safety map where others could read it, basically. So I keep it in the journal where I do my tasks, which is separate from the one where I do my morning pages. You'd be surprised to admit to yourself who are the people you truly trust around certain areas of your life and who are the people that you maybe love with all of your heart, but that you actually don't feel safe around when being yourself, your most authentic self. Task number 3, list 20 things you enjoy doing. Next to each entry, place a date. Don't be surprised if it's been years for some of your favorites. That will change. This list is an excellent resource for artist states. So for instance, painting, skating, reading graphic novels, etc. Task number 4. From the list above, write down 2 favorite things that you have avoided that could be this week's goal. So fun fact, I did this. I picked 2 things and was like, those are going to be my 2 goals for this week. My choices were sculpting and painting. But instead, I went to see a show in a theater for the very first time in a long time. I went once again to the non-Catholic cemetery in Rome. And then I also painted for the very first time in a long time. I'll show you later. And yeah, I did a bunch of things that I had avoided for quite a long time. Task number 5 is another daily task. Dip back into week 1 and read the affirmations. Note which one caused the most reaction. Often, the one that sounds the most ridiculous is the most significant. Write 3 chosen affirmations 5 times each day in your morning pages. Be sure to include the affirmations you made yourself from your blurbs. I just want to say that one of the affirmations I kept writing in my pages, I did this every day. It's one of those tasks that I could do every day, is the one we saw earlier. Great creator, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality. Task number 6, return to the list of imaginary lives from last week, add 5 more lives. Again, check to see if you could be doing bits and pieces of these lives in the one you are living now. Task number 7, life pie. Draw a circle, divide it into 6 pieces of pie. Label one piece spirituality, another exercise, another play, and so on with work, friends, romance. Place a dot in each slice at the degree to which you are fulfilled in that area. Connect the dots. This will show you where you are loop-sided. So I made an example here. So this is what your life pie could look like. I actually added this inner circle that says 50% just to have a rough idea of how these dots move basically. But yeah, I update my life pie every time I get the chance to. This can be weekly or even monthly sometimes, or just upon some significant event that could have moved one of those dots, basically. It really helps you with being self-aware of your current situation. Task number 8, 10 tiny changes. List 10 changes you'd like to make for yourself from the significant to the small or vice versa. Do it this way. I would like to, and then you fill the phrase. I would like to, and then you fill the phrase. Tasks number 9 and 10 are related to this one because 9 is select one small change and make it the goal for this week, and 10 is now do this change. The only one I actively did was getting back to my skincare routine, basically. And the one that I had to do was changing my phone. So I had to change my phone, and this is secondhand. I got this on Swappy, so I needed to do that actually. And we're closing with the actual check-in. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? How was the experience for you? How did the morning pages work for you? Describe them. For example, they felt so stupid. I write all those itty-bitty disconnected things that didn't seem to have anything to do with one another or with anything. Remember, if you are writing morning pages, they are working for you. What were you surprised to find yourself writing about? I did my morning pages every single day. In some pages, I would vent or be very harsh about some things. And I would say things like, I would never do that. And then I would stop and literally laugh at myself and be like, that's not true. Or I would say, they're always the same. They always do this thing to me. And then I would be like, no, they don't. So I would realize how silly I was being on the page and reflect on that. Did you do your artist day this week? What did you do? How did it feel? I did too. So of course this video is not sponsored, but Ohuhu once again sent me a bunch of their new products, and oh my god, I had so much fun. Honestly, I wasn't expecting all of those gifted products. They said what they wanted to send me, but I didn't realize they were about to send me everything. And so I found myself sitting on the floor, surrounded by all of these colors and markers, etc. And I felt this urge to draw on the floor, basically. This is an A3 sheet of paper, and this is all a mix of acrylic markers used as a marker and with the dry brush technique. So yeah, it is a mixed, not a mixed media, but a mixed technique for sure. This was so fun. I had set up everything. I had put my candelabra on the floor, and I had prepared myself a cup of tea in a very fancy cup. So it was a really fun moment. I had this artist date indoors in my house, but I managed to have that time for myself, so that was really nice. And then yesterday I went to the non-Catholic cemetery in Rome, which is also known as the cemetery of the artists and of the poets. That actually a video that I had filmed there. It was amazing, especially because it was something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. I've had this idea of doing it as one of my artist dates since the first time I did the artist's way. So yeah, that was very, very special. I still don't know if I'm doing the artist dates correctly. I don't know if I'm doing these artist dates for my artist child or if I am doing these artist dates for adult self. I don't know if that makes sense. Another thing that I'm really struggling with is understanding if I am happy because I genuinely want to do the artist date, or if it is because I then create content about my artist date. I'm kind of confused about that. I don't know from where the fun and the happiness come from during those artist dates, but I am having fun during these artist dates, and it's enough for now. And lastly, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? The phone addiction. It is not a social media addiction, it is not content creation, but it is a phone addiction. I literally wake up and have to get my phone or else I won't feel awake. Yet I get stuck in this cycle where the more I stay on my phone, the more I'm staying in bed, to the point that I would wake up and stay an extra hour in bed on my phone. So I don't like that. I want to change that. With that said, thank you so much for watching this video. I know this was pretty messy. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you again next week. Be nice and gentle to yourself. Cast this sacred circle around your creative recovery. You're entitled to have encouraging figures around you, but you don't have to feel like you need to share this path with anyone. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. I will see you very soon with more art videos. In the meantime, let's make art. Bye.